Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today, in episode 160, I'm very happy to bring back my friend Elsa Dillon. Elsa Dillon is a mother of 8 children with husband Richard Dillon, and they are a family of 10 experiencers who live on a farm in Byron Bay Hills, Australia. Both Elsa and Richard are international fashion photographers and videographers, shooting celebrities and behind-the-scenes professionals for magazines and advertising for over 3 decades. This is the Dillons' second incarnation here on Gaia. They are a family of oversouls, all called in together again to incarnate in this realm. They have experienced over 600 beings to date in many forms and multidimensional realms. With their oversoul connections, they receive messages and happenings with the paranormal. To find out more about Elsa, all of the links are featured below in the description. Do check us out, subscribe to our channels, leave us comments, and like our videos. Today, we're going to talk more about our adventures aboard the spaceships we experienced and other interesting things. Be sure to share this fascinating discussion with your friends. Welcome, Elsa. How are you doing?
Morning from Oz. Sun's not up yet, so
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, I'm just stepping into spring and you're just stepping into autumn. And
mm,
it's really cool how we're kind of high-fiving it from opposite
yep.
perspectives. And yet we
This
somehow meet in the middle.
the switch.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have daylight savings down there as well?
Yeah, our daylight savings goes to the 7th of April, so it goes for a bit longer, which
Hmm.
is throwing me out with working out times overseas because you
Yes,
guys you guys have already changed over, right? So
yes. Thank you for figuring it out because I'm hopeless when it comes to international time zones. I don't know
I,
why. I'm hopeless, but you always figure it out. Thank you.
no, it's not me, it's Richard. I've got no idea.
Well, bless his heart. I sure appreciate it. Yeah, so today, Nancy Thames was originally scheduled to join us, but she couldn't make it last minute, and our love and best wishes go out to Nancy. And we will reschedule and do this again with her in about a month or so, and that will be great. And today we're going to talk a bit about Elsa and my experiences on board the big ship. We both have experiences. They're quite different, and yet we have some surprising similarities as well. So, Elsa, for those who have not heard your story or your experience, would you like to tell folks how it happened and how you discovered the spaceship and how you ended up on board and whatever else you want to share about your experience.
Well, this talk that we're going to have is about how different the experiences are, but we're pulling out key points so that you can use it in your day to day. And by sharing one experience story with another experience story, you might see in the audience similarities that we don't even see as well, or you'll tap into a similarity. It isn't. There is no rules with it. That's the other thing. It's it's limitless or boundless or infinite. So how one person says it is, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So when all this was happening for our family, we were having this, we call it incarnation, but we were having this whole other family telling us, not just myself, but the other family members, there's 10 in our family, that this is running parallel. This is streaming. They kept saying it's streaming. It's like a stream. It's running. It's like the River Nile. There's two, and you're coming, it's joining in together. Well, this went on for about 10 years, and then the ETs started. So it was like they had to get us used to all that first and get
Hmm.
our ego and mind out the way of that. Then the ET crafts became more. Like we would see them in the sky. We would, see lots of things that were unusual, that weren't satellites, weren't shooting stars. So we saw that for 10 years. But there was something happening in 2017. I don't know. And it was like, okay, now you're ready. Now we're going to step it up. So it went from that to this. And I had a big encounter. A lot of space soldiers call it a 10 in back. There's a 20 in back, I think, is the normal. But again, there's no boundaries. So they gave me a shorter version because obviously I've got no military training. So they only gave me a 10 and back, which I thought was cute. So a lot of the time I laugh with all this because, we've had to also sit with all this information like you have, Karen, and you have to deal with it yourself. You have to sit with the information and deal with it yourself. No one can come along and do it for you. So you have to go deep with these encounters, the experiences. So this experience that I had in 2017, for 10 years, I would go out in the middle of the night and just walk in the paddocks because I could hear animals, and I was like I was in on their conversation. So I could hear foxes playing outside, so I'd go out and watch a family of foxes, or owls, or big snakes in our chook pen. I could hear all what the chickens were saying. So I'd go out and have to do a chicken rescue. So a lot of the time, these tools would also come in to assist our family as well, give you option. Anyway, so I'd go out in the middle of the night and I'd see a lot of craft and things, but it was always over there, up there. This one night I was in standing in the horses, and then the horses started circling me. And I realised something was up because that's normally like a predator or storm behaviour. And then I noticed the horses start looking up. And this is peculiar because horses don't have any predators up.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see them, all their whiskers and their noses sniffing up. And I was like, what are you doing? There's 10 horses, so it was a lot of horses to be doing. Then they started sniffing the ground. I thought, oh, it's a storm. So I'm watching all their behaviour, and once when you're in the horse herd, or when I'm with the owls, or I sort of feel their energy, and I almost become one with them.
Mm-hmm.
And this helped me to understand them, and also how to use it for myself. Anyway, so I noticed they were holding ground, and then they kept sniffing the ground, looking up, sniffing the ground, looking up. And I'm going, okay, so they're not running, they're not galloping. So the storm, it must be Then I looked up and I start seeing blue shooting veins in the sky, and I was like, that is weird lightning. Then I started realizing that the stars have now gone it went to like a black mirror. At this farm, this was our old farm, 200-acre farm in a valley, the whole valley. And I could just see like a straight line, it was like a big triangle in the sky, but a full triangle, not so it was like a full triangle, not like a sprinkler. It was full. Then I started to hear the hum, and I could see the horses were doing the same. They were twitching their ears like this. So it's like they were calibrating. And then that was it. I woke up in my bed and I said to Richard, I have just had the most bizarre dream. And I told him, and he said, wow, that's a big one. That's the biggest dream or experience you've had. And he said, so is it real? I said, I don't know. I walk outside and my gumboots had just dropped on the ground at the front door. Now, where we live on the farm, and also being a mum of 8 kids, the biggest thing that I would yell at the whole family about is put your shoes away, put your
Mm-hmm.
shoes away, because we have brown snakes, and they go and or big. The spiders here are huge and poisonous, and they'll just creep in, and then you put your foot in. So putting shoes away was, survival as well as keeping the house tidy. And I would, out of all the family members, I never leave my boots out. So this was a huge calling card that something different has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny that these we call them gumboots. The UK, they call them Wellingtons. But they're my favourite shoes. And I went, okay, so what's going on here? Anyway, I kind of left it alone. And then for the next few days, weeks coming after this, no one in the family would talk to me. They stopped talking to me. They said I smelt different. They said it's like I was possessed. The animals I'd walk past a cat and it would go, and I was like,
Mm.
yeah, my horses put their ears back and they would shun me. So they'd like push me away like this. And it got more and more and more. Richard was arguing with me. And I was like, why? What is wrong with me? What have I done? So he said, it's like you're possessed. And he said, you've been meeting maybe with the other realm too much, with Neff. Maybe something's happened. And he says, I can't work it out. I can't put my finger on it. And he sent me to kinesiology. Kinesiology couldn't find anything wrong with me physically, and then they found out that it was an out-of-worlder. It's a craft. They took it to that day, and then I realised it was that has made the difference. This craft experience also triggered something not only in myself but the whole family. The kids started. It was like they were allowed to now draw all the beings and communicate freely between the beings. So this all kicked off as well for them.
Mm-hmm.
And also the military got bigger. The military experiences after this one got bigger.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that the animals treated you differently, your family treated you differently. Do you feel that something was changed in your physical being, or do you think it was your emotional, your spiritual being? And I'm also wondering if there's any chance you received an implant and if that would affect your photonic energy system. What's your take on what was happening there?
Yeah, good question. Well, look, one thing that was interesting is how they would say you smell different, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what the animals would do. They'd come up and sniff me, and then they'd,
Mm-hmm.
and so physically, I must have had a change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me, I was neutral. It was just I was looking through my eyes, seeing all this anger towards me, but I couldn't understand it. It wasn't until I came on social media and met Mary Rodwell, and I was talking to her about all the kids' drawings and the beings, and then she sent me an email and said, "Look, you're doing great works with the kids and stuff. Would you like to connect with your craft experience?" And I was like, "Oh, I've never thought of that." And she said, "Yeah, let's do it." So she recorded it, and wow, it took me back to a near death as a child, and they told me that was that was them, and then they started to show me what happened. They said that there was no implants, but it was a a streaming. So it was a continual streaming. So not only were they pulling information into me as they were pulling information out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like how I described feng shui, in with out with the old, in with the new. So they had to take a lot out to allow space in whatever this is to allow the new to come in. I have to say, after that experience, doing a lot of other more abilities got heightened as well. Yeah, it was faster connections with Neff and ghosts, and it just, if it was sort of at 1% before, now it's at like 70, 80.
Yep.
It was like a tool of the trade. So
That's interesting because people often ask me, how the different phenomena are related. And I think it's all one big phenomena. I think that lucid dreaming, whether we're awake or asleep, remote viewing, astral projection, a lot of ET and angelic encounters, and on and on. I think it's part of one big phenomenon. So I'm not surprised at all that you're having, what might be perceived as multiple different kinds of experiences. Because I think that once we're well attuned to it and open to it, it flows quite organically. I don't know. What's your take on that?
okay, so again, every take is different. I have had to come from a place where we've had to, because we weren't in social media, we had to explain it to the children. Our children are in a 10, from 1 to 10. So I would have to have terminology in a playful way with them. So I couldn't use spiritual words. I had to use words that the kids would understand. So when you say the word phenomena, the first thing that comes to me is the Muppet Show. And these little Muppets that are singing this song Phenomena, and they can't really say it very
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Now, this sounds really playful, right? And almost silly, but this is what they would show me all the time. Be this playful, light-heartedness energy in your atoms, so then you can get the next step, the next gift, the next tool. So this playfulness, this lightheartedness, this approach that we take, we actually instructed this as a tool for the next. And it works. Because by having that little playful smile, that inner childness, it takes off all the programs and the goops. Because when you're in this playful, silly smile mode and lightheartedness, the goop doesn't work. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. I mean, you can have the goop if you choose it, but it just doesn't work. And this is what we found with all the information from the craft, from ETs, from others that we meet, is that once we take off all the layers of the information that's shared, we get round to the nuts and bolts of it, which is what I'm doing with you today, which I'm so excited to ask you questions too. So.
Sure. Sure. I didn't want to interrupt your experience, so please carry on until you reach a point where you want to stop, and then feel free to ask me anything you want as well.
So with your experiences, did you feel how did you feel with time? Like, was
Oh,
it
very interesting.
big topic, right?
Well, yes and no. I had a different kind of experience where I don't have any recollection of a ship coming and picking me up. I classify, and again, I know this is a grown-up word, but I classify my experiences as transdimensional. So I would go to sleep at night, and then I would just be aboard the big ship and be having these different adventures. It started off with an orientation process, And then it went on to all kinds of different things. It's interesting you mentioned time. So when I was originally on the big ship, uh, after I had, when I was going through my orientation process, I was assigned a buddy. And she stayed with me all the time so that I felt secure and I wasn't scared or if I had any questions. And she was very good at telepathy. We didn't use words, but she was able to communicate with me to the point where I could actually understand what she was communicating, and she was able to pick up on what I was feeling. So at one point I was concerned because I had been there all day, and I was concerned because I have a cat at home that needed my attention and to be fed and things like that. And I said, I didn't say it, I just was worried, and she picked up on it and told, um let me know that she was aware that I was concerned. And then she let me know that I didn't have to worry about that because when it was time for me to go home, I would wake up and it would be the very next morning. So although I was only having these adventures from the time I went to sleep until the time I woke up in the morning each night, and it was lasted for about 3 months of my time. I actually had like 3.5 years of adventures aboard the big ship, and the different activities that I had there. So there was definitely a time dilation. Now, when you think about it, that makes sense because here on Earth, we have the rising of the sun, and that gives us the day, and then the sun goes down, and we have the night. We have a 24-hour system. Well, for me, being aboard the big ship or in transdimensional or interdimensional space, there is no such there's no such constraints on time. Time is measured and experienced very differently. So there's that. And then there's also the fact that I'm in transdimensional or interdimensional space. Like, for instance, I wanted to know where I was. Where was this big ship located? And I realized it took time for me to realize fully where I was. And where I was just, if you could imagine a Venn diagram of a whole bunch of overlapping ovals, and they all overlap at one spot. At one spot, they're all overlapping. And imagine that those ovals represent different dimensions, different realities, different physical locations. So the big ship is not anywhere and it's everywhere. So it's here. It's not far away, but it's also not here. It's hard to describe. But I realized that I was in interdimensional space. And when we're in interdimensional space, um, I don't know if there is even time or space the way we understand it. So it makes sense that I could be away for weeks or months and then come back, and it was the very next morning. The part that was very difficult about it wasn't me going there. I had no problem with that. I never felt frightened or threatened in any way. I had the most amazing adventures with beings who look very much like us. But when I came back to my mundane life, it was kind of a letdown, kind of a bummer, because I had been having these amazing experiences with beings who are at what I would consider our next state of development. So they're very peaceful, very loving. There's no conflict. There's no high emotion. There's no horrible things happening. It was just so peaceful and very logical and very soothing to be there. And then to come back and be faced with my everyday life. And really, for the first few weeks, I was just shaking my head, wondering, had I imagined it? Was I dreaming? Was I crazy? But I just went with it, and I'm really glad I did.
So that's a really good thing. So when you're there, the the ions or atoms or the dynamics of Karen feel amazing. Then you have to return back to grounded version of Karen, and so now this one feels heavy.
Hmm.
And not heavy in a physical sense, but heavy as in the vibration is slower.
Very much so. And I felt exhausted,
Ah, yeah.
just exhausted. Like I couldn't really, even just meal preparation or simple tasks were very difficult. And I had really no energy for being socially involved with other people. So I very much stayed by myself because I was just processing so much.
So you're on the other side of the world. We talked about the switch and high fiving, right? So this is what happens with the seasons. Or if you have a hot flush or a cold flush come in, it makes your blood increase or decrease. And this is where you can get sick. What happens is it takes a lot of energy for this. So how you're describing this tiredness is exactly how I've heard many others on crafts feel. Because you're going from here to there, here to there. It's like if you traveled to Antarctica and then came back to a warm place. It's warm, cold, warm, cold. This is what's happening to your atoms in your body. And so I've never thought of it this way, and I think it's a really because this is the other thing is you go from being in this space where you have a buzz to return to the less buzz, and it's challenging. It's not only challenging on your body, but it's challenging on you mentally as well. And you start questioning, why am I here? What's the point? They don't get it. No one wants to talk to me. You go through all of this, and then you realize you have to. It's about the sharing of the information to lift the others, or show it's possible, and it's people like yourself who are sharing and explaining that you're okay, which will take us quicker to the next versions of us, the higher breeds of us.
Hmm.
Because because when I was first coming about all this information, a decade or so ago, and then prior to that with the other experiences, it was very hard for me to find anyone to hear these words. Like, where were you when I needed you 2 or 3 decades
Yeah,
ago?
yeah. No, I hear you. I was the same way. Like I learned that there are millions of us who are having these experiences, but I also learned that um, for in our best interest, our memories are suppressed, and they're suppressed so we can come back and do the work that we're meant to do here on Earth and fit back into the social reality. And because we're basically existing in two worlds at that point. But this world is really important, the three-dimensional, and we have work to do here. So then what happens, at least what happened for me, is I had a certain amount of my memories, and it took time for me to sort of sort out and realize this was a real thing. I was actually really having these experiences. I also quickly found out not to really talk about it because people just thought I was crazy, which, okay, I don't blame them. And and but it wasn't until later, and this is kind of a strange part, where there was another being who I didn't ever meet physically, but I had contact. I call it a him. I think it was a him, a contact who I could contact through telepathy. He contacted me, and then we established a relationship. And from what I understand, it was his job to help me to remember in the right context and to basically help trigger the release of my memories as I was ready for them. and answer questions, and also facilitate remote viewing sessions so that I could have the information quite clearly. And I always knew that I would write a book, and I'm about halfway finished my book. It's a lot harder to write a book than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I can get hung up for weeks and weeks on just the grammar. It's a bit crazy making, but and anyway, I call him Bob. He doesn't, that's not his real name. His real, the way beings are identified in other realms is quite different than the way we identify people here. So he does, what the name that he would give himself would be probably quite unpronounceable to me. So we just agreed it would be easier if I just called him Bob. And he helped me over a number of years to help release my memories. But I had to be at a time and place where I could handle having the memories and not have that interfere with my three-dimensional reality. So apparently, though, there's millions of us doing this kind of work. Many have pretty much no idea that they kind of know. There's signs, but they're not really sure. And unfortunately, I believe a lot of people question their sanity, go to the medical industry looking for help, end up on pharmaceuticals that shut down the very centers of our being that we need to remember and to communicate with other realms. I'm not saying people should or shouldn't take their medicine, our medication. That's not my point here. I would not do that, but I'm just saying that that's what I suspect is part of the problem and slowing down. Because let's face it, the different organizations that make a lot of money off of us, they do not want to see us awaken and come into our full power and be the interdimensional beings that we can and are, because there's no profit in it for them. They would lose money. And unfortunately, that seems to be the power grab of the world that we're living in today. I don't know. I hope I'm not getting too political, Elsa, but I'm just stating that I don't think I'm the only one. I think there are many of us. And the good news is people like you and I are sharing what we know and what we think and what we believe so that hopefully others can take the courage to face their experiences and be more aware of their potential. Hi guys, break time for a short message. YouTube will not monetize me, so if you enjoy my content and want to support my efforts, help me to cover my expenses by visiting my shop to buy yourself a beautiful orgone generator. Zendome's Orgonite are my unique brand, and they are ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. They are only available through my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. Many people are finding comfort with Zendome's orgone generators, commonly called Orgonite. They are a simple compound which balance ambient energy by converting negative energy and EMF into positive healing energy with many easily confirmed health benefits. They are a simple compound with alchemic and energetic properties. These devices function as self-driven, continuously operating, highly efficient, negative to positive energy transmutation factories. They help diminish the harmful effects of electromagnetic frequency radiation by attracting and converting negative energies, retuning them into new and more healthful sound and light wave patterns. And they help to purify the atmosphere and accelerate plant growth. They also help stimulate positive mood and are a natural remedy for poor sleep patterns. When Orgonite is within range of any corded or wireless electronic device, it will efficiently and continuously transform that energy into orgone as it is being transmitted. This essentially creates orgone energy transmitters out of any and all emitters of harmful negative energy. You can use these devices for focusing the mind, healing, meditation, and for spiritual growth. Zendome's Orgonite are my unique brand of orgone generators, and they are only available through my website. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out my website to see my latest selection at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com. Check them out today. Now, let's get back to the show.
This is so by doing this, we raise the collective intelligence, which is an organism.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear people say we're all one, we're all tapped in to the greater. This is the intelligence level, but it's been held down for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Really has, by beings. Those beings are, we believe, within us as ancient alien DNA. Now, there's those beings, but then there's the other ones, which is the ones I feel you've been communicating and many others communicate with. Those ones up there realise that we have these ones in us, so they have to tread carefully because we're fragile. Fragile is also the meaning of fragile is royal law. So when we think of the word fragile, we think weak. It's not that. It's just that we could go either way. So
Mm-hmm.
when these ones up here communicate with us, they're always like Bob, checking that we interpret it correctly, because
Mm-hmm.
it can be missing if we have too many or an imbalance of these ones within us. The connection or the language or whatever download you get is misinterpreted, and then it just goes. It's not
Yeah.
it's not how Bob wants you to hear it is not being perceived that way. And this Bob is huge. Bob is so many people say Bob, and as soon as you say the word Bob, I see the symbols of it, and the B, and the B represents the memory glands, the memory. So you got two B's, so it's a palindrome. And then you have the ring in the middle, which is eternal, which is Saturn. So you have one memory returning to another memory. So it's basically the memory glands, the bosom. And so now Bob is, so we class Bobs is they go between the two realms really easily. So your experience and my experience, they showed me that it's this eternal feng shui, letting out the old, bringing in the new, letting out the old, bringing it, so all downloading and receiving at the same time. So now you're confirming it with this name, Bob. This is so cool. This is so cool. This is so cool.
Yeah.
So now it's like you can see what I'm saying. It's a
Oh,
circle.
absolutely. I never looked at it that way before. I always think of when I think of Bob, I always kind of laugh because there's an English expression, Bob's your uncle. You
He
know,
is.
Bob's your uncle. Everything is okay, right? And
Mm.
um and the other thing that's funny about Bob is he has a definite personality and a sense of humor. And and that surprised me. I was not expecting that at all. And I don't actually hear from him much anymore, but back when I needed his help, he was there. And I don't know what kind of being he is. From what I understand, he's not an angel, but he's up there with those kind of beings. So although, I perceived him like an ET, I think he is somebody who unites different realms together so that there can be understanding and cooperation. So he's actually, quite an important person. I wouldn't refer to him as an archangel or anything like that because the feel of the contact. And then I'm sure sometimes the way we know which being we're in contact with comes across in our body sensations and in our emotions. There's a whole language that's got nothing to do with words, that we learn to read those feelings and impressions, and that's how we get a sense of what we're being told. It's also interesting what you said about getting the messages clearly. You know, as I'm writing, working on my book, when I don't word it properly, I'm definitely aware that I need to go back and change the context because it's not right. Or I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'm just obsessed with it. I got to remember in the morning, I have to go back and change that paragraph because it's not giving an accurate interpretation of my experience. I thought that was really interesting too.
So you have like a ET autocorrect.
Editor, I have some kind of an editor, and it's that won't leave me alone until I fix it. And it has to be just so, or it's no good. It's interesting.
Well, this is Bob bring it into, or you know, whoever is communicating with you, bring it into a practical way. So they're going, okay, now you're over all of that. Now get on with the book. And that last two paragraphs, they're all round the wrong way. You got to redo it all this way, autocorrect, and you're hearing ping, ping. so
Mm-hmm.
now, so now the energy is grounding through
Mm-hmm.
you, and this is a big important part of the whole phenomena is the we're the ones here grounding it. So we're the avatar or the host avatar bringing it all through. Now you have to ground it in and show others so that they ground their version in.
Mm-hmm.
The more we share this to each other and others hear these words, they will get over all the hoo-ha of it and all the fear and the doubt really fast, much faster than we did.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will, so the quickening happens. So it goes boom, boom, and it's like a snowball. This super organism that's growing within us all on here, wherever here is is snowballing. That's the best way I can describe it. It's the momentum is very powerful, and this is good because this will. I would never wish on anyone that they had to go through what I had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
I just wouldn't. I just would not wish the fear, the doubt, the worry, the tears, you know, there's, you know, I don't want to get into the poor me of it all, but I just wouldn't wish that upon anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like they don't have to go through that version. They've been stepped up to this version, you know. But the other thing that I got, which was interesting, is why probably that I didn't meet you 10 or 20 years ago, is I was told clearly that the versions had to find their versions of their ions and then come together. Whereas if we
Mm-hmm.
did it all together 2 decades ago, it might have got the communication from Bob's might have uh, got too mashed up together.
I think you're right on the money with that, and I'll tell you why. Is a friend of mine, Ryder Lee. He has a channel called Raised by Giants, and he did a series about UFO cults. And one thing that I was given instruction right away was not to try to convince other people to to buy into my experience. And what I think happens is sometimes people have an experience and then they want everybody else to follow them like there's some kind of a leader or grand poobah and tell everyone else how it is. And I agree with you that we need to process our experience and make it our own. And then, we can share that with other people, but not expect other people to buy into the energy as we experienced it. Because I think that we all bring a piece to the table, and then that forms like puzzle pieces that put together the puzzle that shows us the bigger picture and the greater truth. And so yeah, that was something I wanted to just mention, came up for me as I was listening to what you were saying.
Yeah, so you have to go within, serve yourself, and check that you are serving yourself. It's not you're not being taken over by anything. So you're serving yourself, and then we all come together like a big family barbecue picnic with all of we all come with our different international dishes to the table, and then now we're sharing all the different versions of the meal to digest.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't mean that you only stop cooking the way you cook to take on this way. You just go, oh, I'm going to add a bit more of this ingredient now and this ingredient, and this is where we are now. So
Mhm.
now we're coming into the sharing or the feast of this communication, which will create faster alignments for the others.
Mhm.
So this, you talk to the oval. As soon as I heard you say these words, the oval, I instantly saw crop circles. So it's one oval, then another oval on top, like timestamps of that realm, of that realm, of this realm. And it's where those realms cross over is the alignment there. That's a point. Then there's another point, and then there's another point, and this is a mark. And these marks is what creates the ingredient or the flavor of that version of that dish.
Mhm. It's interesting that you mentioned crop circles. I'm wondering if we took all the crop circles and put them together, if they wouldn't paint a more complete picture. We keep looking at them as separate things, but perhaps they're all part of something, much bigger. I'm wondering if anyone has done any of that work.
Yeah, the crop circles and sacred spots, and we find locations, land hold, definitely hold the energy. We have a lot of ghosts, ET, all lightning, all will happen at these one spots. Then you go to
Mhm.
another spot, it happens there, and so I. To me, those spots, they might not be crop circles, but they hold a current.
Mhm.
Some might call them portholes. But yeah, we found a lot of these places also have a lot of disturbances, as in deaths and car
Mhm.
accidents. And we found by going to these locations and just being there and feeling that energy and shifting it back the other way, rather with a knowing of the information. So like bringing Bob into that location. I'm using Bob a lot because it's a great version. I love this version. So bring Bob in, go to this spot that has weird energy, bring his energy through me to this location. There's no more car accidents there. There's no more, happenings at this spot. It's changed. It feels different. The ringing in your ears gone. This is what we found. How to bring it into our day to day, because we have to pass that location all the time,
Mhm.
and we don't want to feel that uncomfortable feeling every time we drive past that location. So
Mhm.
we stop, do something for a minute or two, and then we go on our way and we test it. We come back, we test it, not just myself, but each family member, we test it and you feel it. And so now you're incorporating an outer world experience and we're grounding it in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bring it into a practical day-to-day sense. On the
Mm-hmm.
way to the shops, getting our groceries.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like two realities blended into one, where we've got one foot in one and one foot in the other. So we're having to go to the shops and buy our groceries, but we're also doing this very important interdimensional work at the same time. It's a really, I think this is actually what reality is actually like. But we've been born into a programmed system that teaches us that tries to convince us that there's one reality and that's the way we're taught it has to be. And I don't think so at all. I wanted to ask you, Elsa, we still have a few minutes left. Are you still having experiences with extraterrestrials? Are you still finding yourself on the big ship or the spaceship that you went to originally? Or has that stopped and now you're having different kinds of experiences? How's that going for you?
Yeah, so now um, because we are connecting social media, so we've had that. So then I'm getting downloads from just hearing others like yourself, your frequency, and then things will happen within hours afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've had physical markings, a lot of those ones, which brings almost like an urgency. It's
Mm-hmm.
in your face. Like I've had them where I had one where a cutthroat one. And this one was, I got sent into like a coma sleep after listening to a podcast. And it was, I don't know what happened. It went out for 5 hours, just like hardly any breathing. So I'm just like a shell here. Wake up with this huge cut on my neck. And the kid's
Wow.
like, whoa, what's that? No blood, no pain, but a definite, like a laser incision. And, at first everyone's saying it's evil, all the messages you get. But we didn't get that at all. They were helping me to understand different ways to communicate with our digestive tract and things like this. So that one was weird. That was a weird one, and it was physical as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they've left a calling card. You talked about implants and things like this. We've had dental implants out of the kids' teeth. Same tooth on 3 children. Yeah. So the experiences, just when you think you haven't had any for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We've been getting a lot of ghost activity at the moment. It's funny the phases we go through. Ghost has been a big one.
Mm-hmm.
But just when also, it's tricky for the family because the family hear me talk about it on these shows and stuff, but they don't want to talk about it. They're doing their all versions of them. But then they'll have a big encounter. So they were driving to the boat, I think 3 weeks ago in the morning at this time again, before the sun was up, and they had a big one come down on the road and at them,
Mm.
a big craft. So there's 5 in the bus. And that was, we always find that one was between 2 quarries. So again, why are they at quarries? Because there's energy at those stones there.
Mm-hmm.
So mines, quarries, where they have cemeteries, churches. Why do they have, hauntings, stories of these things at these places? Is because they're energy points. A lot of energy's left there.
Hmm.
So, with your experience, I wanted to ask you if we do still have time.
Oh yeah, we got a few minutes.
Um, so, so, so you're up there, right? In this, uh, could you ever see back down, or could you? Uh, did they ever show you that you were up?
No, no, not at all. In fact, when I'm in that transdimensional state, when I'm in that transdimensional place, I'm so captivated by what's going on around me because it's so real. Like it's just as real as me sitting here right now. So it takes up all of my awareness and just the day-to-day goings on are filling up my conscious mind. However, there are times where we did disembark on a smaller craft that took us to specific planets because we were involved in some expedition work. You see, apparently there are billions of planets that are quite habitable, but they have no humanoids. You've got the animals and the bugs and the water and the trees, everything is there. And so we would do these expedition trips where we would do collect data, and then we would take that information back, and we traveled there physically. So somehow we were already within the vicinity of the planet we were going to go to. We just needed to physically get down to the planet. So we didn't do that through interdimensional travel. We did that through a physical ship, a small ship. And there I was able to, go to these different planets. The information would be brought back to the big ship, and then we would put it into like I don't know what you would call it, like a computer system that would create a three-dimensional image. And then we would discuss ways that these planets could be populated with humanoids, but it had to be done in a way that would not upset the natural balance of the biosphere. And it wouldn't, nothing like the way we do colonialism here on Earth, where we just go onto a new land and go, this is ours, and just take it away from the Aboriginal people and claim it as our own and do what we want with it. That does never happens. So it's very done very methodically, and sorry, I didn't mean to get off on a different topic, but that's the closest I ever got to looking down or seeing another world. What is interesting is when the big ship moves from one place to another, it's actually done by the say you have point A and point B. You're at point A, you want to go to point B. There's no traveling from point A to point B. Point A becomes point B, and we achieve it through a group meditation that we all participate in on the big ship. And that's how it's physically transformed to the new place. So there's no actual physical traveling. So the only physical traveling that I did have was on one of the small ships going down to the planet for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and then coming back as we had gear and stuff like that. It was a very physical experience. But I never was able to look down and see the earth or see my goings on earth or anything like that. No.
So it came to you. So point A and point B and point C was coming. So you become the crop circle. But then you left in a smaller one, so they had to reduce to go to another version over here. So that was so
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely a difference. So so I'm showing what I want to bring attention to is there is definite movement in there. It's just not movement how we understand it. That's what I was going
Mm-hmm.
to say. Like when you were moving in these time frame, were you walking or were you gliding, or it wasn't that? It was just there. there?
Well, for instance, we'd be on the big ship, and there's millions of us that live on the big ship. And when it came time to move the big ship to a different location, right? There's a huge observation deck at the top that many of us go to and just relax there because it's kind of cool to see to be able to look out and see the constellations one way, and then after the ship moves, we get to see it completely different constellations, right? But basically, the ship is the other thing is the ship is conscious. It's an actual living thing that we're a part of, and we're a part of it. So what happens is the ship emits these tones. We all get comfortable, and the tones help us to go into a very deep state of relaxation, and it's like a meditative trance we go into. And while we're in that trance, point A becomes point C or point D or whatever, wherever we're going. Then when we come out of the trance and we look up, it's a completely different constellation system that we're seeing above us. It's really, really cool. I have no idea how it works, but that's how it works.
So
And
do you, do you, because I want to really, I'm narrowing in on something here because I'm curious. So did you, so you're here in the ship and then you're at the observation. Do you ever remember walking, or were you just here and then you were there? Was it the same on the ship as well? Do you
oh,
get what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not sure. Let me just see if I'm understanding. So that's how the big ship moves from one place to another, and we're stationary while it's happening. But if we want to get around on the big ship, we want to go from one area to another. There's a number of ways that we can get there. We can walk there, and there's these corridors that are the whole thing is sort of laid out like a labyrinth, but layers of labyrinths on top of each other. We can physically walk there if we want, but if it's too far to walk, because they're massive, it's a massively huge ship. There are basically two ways of traveling. One is very much like it's like gliding, but you're actually on a surface that moves you, and it would be a little bit like being on a conveyor belt where you would be moved along that way. And then there's another way, which is a vertical lift system, and that's really cool. I remember taking it once where basically you just look down, there's this big opening, and you look down, and there are these rails, like they look like metal rails on either side that just run down the length of all the different floors that you want to go to. And depending on how, when you step off, you don't fall. Something that you can't see, I don't know if it's anti-gravity or what, just sort of catches you. And then depending on how tight you squeeze the rails on either side is how fast you go. And I wanted to see how fast I could go. So I started going down really fast. And the being that was waiting to come on after me, I guess she picked up on my sense of play. She jumped on head first and she chased me down. And we were both just squealing, like as if we were on a roller coaster ride as we went gliding down. And we were on our way down to the docking bay to take one of these smaller ships to go someplace. And when I got to the bottom, there was no impact. It was just kind of like poof, like as if a little cushion of air. And then I stepped off, and then she came down right after me, and she flipped over, poof, and then she stepped off, and we were laughing, just laughing. It was really quite a lot of fun. So the vertical lifts, you can go as fast or slow as you want, and then there's the horizontal, which is more like a conveyor belt system, or you can walk. So that's how you get around on the big ship.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This is like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with the elevator that moves you see on Harry Potter. This is replicated a lot. Um, I've even read it in texts, like ancient stuff as well. So this this is amazing. This because the way that that I was in the craft is they melted me. They literally melted me, but they then held me in a gyroscope, and that was they kept spinning me around in this gyroscope. So they melted me. I was like a jelly or a clear liquid, and they would spin me. They kept spinning me around. But you know how you said you saw your cat and you get worried about your cat, and they tap into this? That fear, that doubt, that human side of us that would come through every time I would have that, like I've got to get back to the family.
Mm-hmm.
They would spin me upside down and show me I could see the horse herd. So they wanted to show me time is waiting for me back there,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to do all this first. So they'd drop, so I'd spin, they'd let me drop down, see the horse herd, and then keep spinning me back. And that would be enough to calm me, just seeing that the horses were okay.
Mm-hmm.
They were waiting. It was like they were waiting until I came back down.
Interesting.
Or even my avatar's still on the ground and the horses are in the herd. Not that I could see my avatar, but I wasn't there. I couldn't see me, but I could see the horse herd. So it's like my energy was staying in the horse herd and the horses held ground for me. So see how
Mm-hmm.
the animals bring us back to here, like your
Mm-hmm.
cat did.
Mm-hmm.
This is so cool. My brain's going to be ticking and ticking all day long now. It's been great,
It
Karen.
is really interesting, and it's interesting to talk to you about your experience and my experience. And next time we come on the show, we'll add Nancy to the mix and get her take on things too. We are quickly running out of time, but before we go, Elsa, I want to know if you have any sort of last minute things you want to say to the listeners and the viewers, or if you have a point you want to make or anything like that, please don't let me rush you. And also, can you tell for the people who are listening on audio where they can find you? And of course, all the links will be in the description below.
Um, the messages we've been getting the last 2 weeks is the power of prayer. And I'm not a religious person in any way. They keep saying to me the power of prayer is not how you humans think of it. It's putting Father Ray, so Father Light. So put it the forefather. So you're putting your word out, and then you're bringing the light in on it. And they say it's if you can do it in the morning as you rise, this will have the biggest impact. And this is really important for right now, right this moment in our space. And so the prayer can be just words of thank you. It can be I love you, I thank you. It can be really simple, but your version, not a Bible's, not a text, not anything. It's just your words. It could be I love my cat. It could be something so simple, but a forward word of or a feeling. They say words because we understand the words. We
Mm-hmm.
understand it's a language, but you can just do it through a feeling. But the importance of it each morning, and they keep showing me the power of it is, and the power of it has happened within hours for us. I'm just saying it. We've actually tested our kids do it. They test it out, so it works. It doesn't always materialize how we think it's going to materialize. Sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
materializes a lot better, and this is what's been happening for us the last month. So,
Wonderful.
we have a website called spinbeings.com, and we offer one-on-one Zoom sessions to help more personalized conversation with people. And then also we have all the videos which link to all the interviews we've done. So you can find it all on the website. Thank you, Karen. Thank you for this. It was fun.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'm honored to have you. And I look forward to the next time, which will be in about a month. I'll have to see when Nancy's available, and then I'll let you know. And we'll get together and we'll just keep raising awareness and talking about our experiences, and hopefully encourage other people. And thank you also to the listeners and the viewers. I appreciate you very much. I'm sending out much love to each and every one of you and sending best wishes. And I guess that's it for today. Thank you, Elsa, so much. And we'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining me for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton and also the Aliens and Angels podcast on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.